welcome everybody. Good afternoon. Let's get started. For guests, my name is Teresa Russell, current president, and I welcome you to the 15th meeting of the 49th year of the Dublin-Worthington Rotary Club. And today's invocation and pledge is offered by Jerry Katz.
Today, actually, I'm not going to pray with you. As many of you know, I'm a walker, and I've walked a couple of caminos in Portugal and in Spain. And so today, what I'd like to do is I'm going to read for you the spirit of the Camino. And I think that it's appropriate. It's almost a prayer, and it's very akin to what I hold to be Rotary. So, the spirit of the Camino. Live in the moment. Welcome each day, its pleasures and its challenges. Make others feel welcome. Share. Feel the spirit of those who have gone before you. Imagine those who will follow you. Appreciate those who walk with you today. And if you'll let me, hold on just a minute. Wait for my cue.
You thought you'd never get that.
Well, I may not. Now, with some enthusiasm and with some feeling, this is our flag, folks. And the United States today, in all of its turmoil, needs some spirit. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Jim Farmer, would you like to welcome our visitors on today?
We have several visitors today. First of all, we have Eric Farley and Leah Brakey. I think you're both running for something. Would you like to stand up and tell us what that is?
We're running for Worthington School Board. We're running co-candidacies. We're very similar on the issues. Fiscal, academic safety, and transparency.
I mean, all that, yeah.
Okay, thank you. If you go on any longer, I'm gonna have to find you. We also have these two important gentlemen in the back here who accompanied our speaker, who apparently was a little concerned about how he'd be received today. So Sean Manley and James Jernigan. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. Don't recognize somebody else at this table right here. Would you like to stand up and introduce yourself? Yes.
So I'm not necessarily new. I was here 2 weeks ago, but I'm a new member, Lisa Federico. I'm the owner and publisher of Northwest Columbus City Lifestyle Magazine. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Thank you.
And those with announcements. Make a line. Okay.
Well, you told me to stand in line, you told me to talk.
You can talk now.
Hi, everybody. We had a wonderful event last night. So sorry you couldn't be there for Oleo Plus. We raised $500. I haven't figured out what the restaurant's giving us yet. And if you weren't there and you would like to participate, you'll be absolved of any fines today. So if you'd like to give us $25, raise your hand for Oleo Plus. Come on now, somebody's gotta do it. Darnell, Dave, Steve. Okay, awesome, great. We'll figure out how to get it from you later. So it looks like another $125. So $625 is where we're at so far. Thank you very much.
All right, folks. Bourbon raffle.
Who's tired of hearing me talk about it? Nobody. We need to make a big push. We've, not really had any ticket sales in the last 6 days. John Butterfield, wherever he is, thank you for making our most recent purchase, but we're about $8,450 there. We've got a long way to go, but I think we can really focus in November and make a push and get over the hump. So, please, if you have not, notified your network, your friends, your family, your seamstress, mistress, hairdresser, all of those people with stress of the name, please do so. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Is anybody here a charter member of the club besides Jerry?
Well, I'm not sure.
Okay, great, wonderful. Well, you know, next year we're gonna be celebrating 50 years of the club. So, this is just a warning ahead of time that we would like to have some volunteers to get the ball rolling. We'll have more information as the weeks go on. But we would like, if any past presidents would like to step up and help chair that event, 50 years. So we'll hear from you. You can talk to Teresa. She'll write your name down as volunteer. We need your help. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This last Saturday, we did our food drive and we collected over 1,100 pounds of food and over $500 worth of donations. So thank you for all the volunteers and all the help. Thank you.
And just to announce for those of you who have brought socks in for Socktober, thank you. We've been piling them over on the table today and we're going to hold it open until next week. November 1st, we'll be collecting at the November 1st meeting also for Socktober. So the idea is that we're going to donate at least one pair of socks, but also it just happens to the club that wins the donation contest for the district will be awarded a pair of Rotary socks. They're special Rotary socks that you'll be proud to wear them to Rotary events and other events. So just make you aware of that. Thank you. And Andrew, thank you for sharing the food drive project, which has been very successful. We're doing it twice a year now. So thank you.
Well, fellow Rotarians, what time is it? Yes, it is poinsettia time. Starting next week, the 1st of November, we'll start selling poinsettias. We have ravishing red, wondrous white, blushing pink, and marvelous marble. These are poinsettias that are healthy. They'll last at least till Valentine's Day, so it's a good deal to buy our poinsettias. Prices, one plant, $14. If you buy 10 plants, they're $120 or $12 a piece. They have to be purchased in groups of 10 to be able to get that 10 discount. We'll be selling them through the month of November. Find friends, family. If you go to some store or barber shop, whatever, and they need plants to decorate for the holiday, get them a pile, sell them 10 or so. It'd be great. We have Jim Miller as co-chairman. He will have the spreadsheet. It will be interactive on the computer, so you can register your sales on a weekly basis. Remember, we also give poinsettias for charity to several nursing homes. So if you don't use them in your own home, buy one or two for charity. We thank you much for your business.
Thank you. And
Thank you. Could I get a volunteer to carry the pot, please?
Andrew.
Alan, you the man.
Oh.
He was up first. Thanks for volunteering.
It's over here.
Feel free. Who were the charter members that raised their hands?
Thank you for your many years of service. If you're seated at a table with any of those gentlemen, you know what to do. Get a dollar out. Happy dollars. Who's got a happy buck?
Over the weekend, Rebecca and I celebrated 12 years of blissful marriage.
Would your wife describe it as blissful? Jay,
Celebrating just being happy to be here for the 49th year.
and we're happy you're here. Father, happy bucks, bro.
I'm happy to say I'm back from visiting the brand new grandbaby in California, so we are thrilled to have Jensen with us now. And sorry, Steve, but I have to talk to you. Bill and I just celebrated 45 years.
Wow.
Jim, you're next.
Yeah, last week I spent Friday playing golf with two fellow Rotarians. And we spent 20 minutes looking for a golf club that was in one of our members' hands. I just thought it wasn't me.
It's only $1.
Hey, Jim,
Is that person in attendance today, Jim? Is that person here
That
today?
person will go unnamed.
As far as you're concerned, I wanna know who the hell it was.
I'll admit to it. But the problem was that my colleague put that club in my bag, and so I just pulled it because it said pitcher, you know, and it was his.
Sure.
Sure, I'm putting this in for the Buckeyes. I was gonna put it in for the coach, but the coach doesn't need any money.
Any other happy bucks? Who was it that bought the 2 tickets to the Penn State game that were auctioned off a couple weeks ago?
Oh, no.
They
That-
trumped me.
No, there were 2, there was a pair of tickets auctioned
Yeah.
here. Who bought them?
It was one of your emails.
Yeah,
Who was it?
I don't wanna say,
Who was it?
I don't wanna say.
That's $1 for not divulging to the sergeant. Who bought, did you,
But
you
it's
bought
not true.
the pair? Or-
I bought one ticket to get to sit the Symphony.
Yeah.
Right,
Sydney went.
somebody else bought 2 tickets that were auctioned.
That's for the, something else.
It went over my bed and it was whoever was in his pocket.
It was $375.
Which may have been below face value.
I don't.
So I was gonna find that person for getting those tickets
Oh,
below
you
face
can't, they're
value.
not in the room.
Okay. On this day in history, 1940, Bobby Knight was born. Who in this room knows what Bobby Knight's first coaching job was?
Head coach?
Coaching job. Jim, do we have one? Somebody just chime in remotely? Apparently not. Is that the group's guess, the Naval Academy?
No.
Do we have another guess? Ellen?
US Military Academy at West Point.
That's a really good guess, but you're wrong. I'll try to make this story short. My nephew's father-in-law played for Bobby Knight at 2 different places. Bobby Knight's first coaching job was the junior varsity basketball coach at Cuyahoga Falls High School. He then went to he enlisted in the Army, got the Army coaching job. And my nephew's father-in-law played for him there also, so everybody, because the guess was wrong, that's $1. Again, it was Cuyahoga Falls High School. On this day in 1964, a famous band appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show. Who was it?
The Beatles.
That's $1, it was the Rolling Stones. Everybody, we're gonna hit the $3 max. Or I'm gonna be up here for a long time. October 1984, on this day, the first woman to ever walk in space got to do that. Who was it? Say it louder.
Sullivan. Catherine Sullivan.
I think she spoke to us once. Catherine Sullivan lives in Worthington. I see her often at Worthington Hills Country Club. She is the most modest person you will ever speak to, because not only did she go to the top of the world, she's been to the bottom of the ocean. She went into one of those deep dive things and went, I can't tell you how many feet down, but it was down there.
30,000 feet, the bottom of the Challenger Deep. And folks probably know that as the Mariana Trench.
There you go. It's amazing she did both. Finally, who in this room thinks the University of Michigan should fire Jim Harbaugh? If your hand is not up, it's gonna be $1. Here's why. Jim Tressel was fired by Ohio State, not because of tattoos, because he lied to the NCAA, he admitted it. Jim Harbaugh lied to the NCAA, got suspended for 3 very insignificant games. Much different set of standards. So when you get into a debate over what's going on up there with sign stealing and illegal practices and recruiting during COVID, remember, he admitted that over the first set of circumstances, he lied about it, which got Jim Tressel fired at Ohio State. Have a great week, everybody.
Our speaker today is Ralph Vepper, a retired Command Sergeant Major, U.S. Army Reserve with 35 years service, who currently serves as an Army Reserve Ambassador. Ambassador Vepper holds an AAB in data processing from Eastern Gateway Community College and a certificate in interpreting, transliterating American Sign Language from Columbus State Community College. He's a graduate of Class 27, non-resident, United States Army Sergeants Major Academy, and the Command Sergeants Major course. Ambassador Vepper currently serves as President, Central Ohio Chapter of the Association of the United States Army, Secretary, Military Veterans Educational Foundation, and is a member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars and the American Legion. Please help me in welcoming Ralph Vepper or Ambassador Ralph Vepper to our podium to speak about the U.S. Army today.
First of all, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for inviting me here. I was going to tell you, by the way, that, you know, you always try to open up a speech with a nice little joke. I think I've revamped it based upon the last gentleman's comments about Jim Harbaugh. My last duty assignment was training command that was headquartered up at Fort Sheridan, Illinois, but I had a detachment in Livonia, Michigan, which is Detroit. And before I was officially assigned to the unit, I drove up there to take a look at them, and they said, well, how'd you find us? And I said, it was easy. I just drove north until I smelled it and west until I stepped in it. They didn't appreciate the joke as much as you guys did. That's okay. Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. I wanted to, Sergeant Manley and Sergeant Jernigan. These are recruiters out of the Dublin office of the Columbus Recruiting Company, Columbus Recruiting Battalion. So if you'd all stand and raise your right hands.
I don't think you want all of us.
I am a retired Command Sergeant Major. I spent 35 years in the military. I figured I'd have to stick around long enough to try and get it right, and I never did until they finally kicked me out. But I enjoyed it. And boy, if I could kick back 30 years, I would do it in a heartbeat. I will be talking a little bit about that here today. Let's see, first of all, make sure I'm doing this right. Okay, that's kind of just the generic agenda. We're going to be talking about America's Army Reserve. That's my primary focus, if you will. Veterans programs, veterans service numbers. And by that, I mean people who have served. Speaking of which, who has served? What branches?
Air Force.
Air Force. Navy.
Army.
Army. I appreciate it.
National Guard.
Well, that's Army, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, people ask me, how long have you served that many years? And I tell them, yeah, just look at the picture of Washington crossing the Delaware, and look at the guy on the left door, you know. We'll also be talking about women's veterans, and this is kind of an important point. Recruiting and retention initiatives, impediments to serving, and that's one of the things in particular that I'm hoping to speak with you about. And then we'll have, and by the way, if you have a question at any time, please, just, raise a hand. Now, how can we get that thing to run?
With a hope and a prayer.
And when people say America is a land of opportunity,
it means we strive to be a nation of limitless possibilities.
Exploring those possibilities isn't just an inclination.
Be all you can be. All
what does it mean when people say America is a land of opportunity?
It means we strive to be a nation of limitless possibilities.
Exploring those possibilities isn't just an inclination.
It's our greatest strength, the power to discover.
To redefine yourself.
To improve yourself.
To challenge yourself.
To challenge yourself.
To challenge yourself.
To realize there's more in you
than you ever knew
that you could do.
To be all you can be.
To be all you can be.
It means never assuming
something can't be done.
And if it's the right thing to do,
never stopping until you achieve it.
That's how the U.S. Army has succeeded since the founding of this country.
Since the founding of this country.
Giving people an open field to explore what they do best.
With the best tools.
The best training.
The best technology in the world.
The possibilities really are endless. And the world sees that.
It's what we fight for every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Seeing those possibilities, then going out and achieving them. That's winning. And we all know that winning matters.
Having possibilities matters.
It's what makes every soldier swear that
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
America was built on embracing possibilities.
This is what we do.
This is what we do.
This is what we do.
We bring out the best in the people who serve.
Because America calls for nothing less. So you can be all you can be.
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 That's the Army's, one of the new commercials that they've come up with. You may remember a few years ago, is this still on?
No, something's wrong with it. Lean into it a little bit.
Who turned the light switch off back there?
Yeah.
Why? Go turn it back on, please.
Oops, I can go into my sergeant major mode. Can you all hear me here?
Darnell, hit that switch right there on the wall.
All right, I'll go ahead and do it this way.
All right, come on.
Y'all may remember earlier on this year, they came out with some new commercials. And there was a gentleman who I believe played Ant-Man. Played Ant-Man, yes. And then he got hit with assault and battery or something like that. Well, the Army Enterprise Marketing Office, which does these commercials, they did a 180-degree turn in about 2 days. Got rid of those old commercials and laid on some of these new things. Now, you won't see this too much except like sporting events, because the target audience doesn't watch that much TV anymore. So they watch YouTube and things of this nature, and so a lot of these types of things will be going out. In fact, that is a YouTube video right there. So, okay. I mentioned that I am a retired Command Sergeant Major, 35 years of service, captain president for the Association of the United States Army. I'm an Army Reserve Ambassador sounds very prestigious, but it just needs maybe a little bit of my coffee when I yours. This is my mock soldier. For those of you who've been around a little bit, especially in the Army, mission-oriented protective posture. This actually isn't the same stuff that they have, but this is what I did for much of my career. We're on the whole gear. You're all wrapped up, and I might spend 6 hours inside of that. You're claustrophobic, might be a little bit of a problem with it. I like this better than submarines, by the way. Been on submarines, I'm claustrophobic for that. But I bring him along kind of to show you that there's just well, in fact, I was just at the Association of the United States Army's National Convention in Washington, D.C., and I was walking around and they had over 700 displays of military type equipment, and what have you. And they had some chemical gear. And I walked up and I said, there's the second love of my life. And 2 ladies were working behind the counter and said, well, who's your first love? Oh, that's my wife. Good answer. I've asked about how many veterans in the audience. Thank you for your service. I don't care what it is that you did. If you put that uniform on, you did good. Second part is, how many spouses of veterans do we have here? A little surprising, but here's the thing about that. They served too. When you're thinking that veteran, thank the spouse. Well, by the way, that's in the Army, that means anything but no. You say, well, okay. There's the thing about it. You enlist in the Army, we have this old expression. You enlist in the Army, you re-enlist the family. That's kind of an important consideration. Let's see. None of this. All right. Right now. There we go. This is America's Army Reserve. And it's just kind of a total Army personnel, about 954,000. Well, that's what's authorized, not necessarily what's actually in the books. The Army Reserve number is 177,000, so it's 20% of the total force. Yet it's only 6% of the total Army budget. We are an economical force provider. Now, what does the Army Reserve have? The active Army's got virtually all of the different jobs that you can have. The Army Reserve is combat support and combat service support. We don't have any tanks, artillery. We have only 1 infantry battalion. That's the 100th infantry battalion. It's out in the Hawaii and Guam, I believe. And they were part of the B-side fighters back in World War II. It's kind of an historical thing to have that in the Army Reserve. We have no other combat arms. We have combat support, which is the engineers, military police. And I think signals part of that too. And then combat service support, which is the medical, quartermaster, and other types of logistics, transportation. Some 2,100 units across the country. We're in every state, all 5 territories, 24 countries. We are a big piece of what the military, the Army in particular, is capable of doing across the world. The Army doesn't go anywhere that the Army Reserve does not go. We've been sending troops over to Poland, so Army Reserve troops over there right now. This is what Ohio looks like. This is what I give to the politicians to show them how much money is being spent here in the state. Well, we've got 20 reserve centers, facilities, 94 units, about 5,600 soldiers. This is an interesting part. Most of the time you see a soldier in uniform, you think Guard, because that's what you know here. The Guard is about 11,000 Army National Guard here in Ohio. Around 5,600 Army Reservists. There's actually a couple states have more Army Reserve than they do Army National Guard. We're on this one. We're figure roughly $250 million economic impact in Ohio every year. Majority of that, of course, is payroll, but then you have a lot of, somebody's got to mow the yard, that stuff, so. This is a picture of a unit here in Columbus, the 375th Military Police Detachment, on a training exercise. But that gives you an idea of some of the stuff that we have here in Ohio. The 100 military intelligence group that right out of the Air Force Base, they've got a real world mission, day in, day out. Army Reserve soldiers that have a real world mission. Provides intelligence information for major component commands like Central Command, Northern Command, places like that. And they do intelligence assessments on a daily basis and provide that. So the Army Reserve is not just 1 week a month, 2 weeks out of the year. It's got real world stuff happening on a day in and day out basis. Of course, some of the other stuff we got is training support, engineers, transportation, legal, civil affairs, quartermaster, medical, military police, psychological operations, signal. And actually, that's not even all that we have here in Ohio. So it's a broad range of activities. Let's see.
Question?
Yes.
So those folks that are doing that intelligence work over at Dayton, are they full-time then as a reservist, or are they doing that part-time and have another life?
Both. The 2100 MI group, I can't say specifically how many soldiers they've got, but somewhere around 300. And I'd say close to a third of them are on a full-time basis. And then the other 2
As reservists.
As reserve. It's called active guard reserve. Now, some of that as well, is they've got civilians that work for them as well, but yes. And virtually every unit, I shouldn't say all of them, but almost every unit does have full-time support. But somebody's got to be there to answer the phone at the very minimum. Okay. There we go. I wanted to talk about the veterans. One of the issues that comes up a lot, people talk about, if you're going to support something, support the homeless veterans first. I wanted to let you know, first of all, right now in Franklin County, and I got this from talking to several different organizations, every homeless veteran can be housed right now. There's a veterans outreach at Charles P. Wiley Clinic. I talked to a couple of the gentlemen there, the one that was kind of the director of that particular program. They can put them into a house in some kind of facility right now. One of the things, and I'm not trying to plug your minus on anybody and what their issues are or any of that kind of stuff, but some of them just don't want to go. They don't want to go. So I ask you first, make sure that you support veterans in any capacity that you can, but understand it's not a question of an either or. Some of these guys, they just don't want that help, and that's part of being here in America. But some of the organizations that we do have, there's 300 plus veteran service organizations, military service organizations, and charities in Franklin County alone. There's over 30,000 across the country. One of the initiatives that some of the ambassadors across the country are trying to do is to say, hey, we now have what's called Military One Source. And that's a pretty darn good program. I actually used it a few years ago when there was a person from Nepal that they had a soldier overseas, but a family back here, and they couldn't speak English. We got an interpreter through Military One Source for Nepalese. It was kind of an interesting, assistance for that family. But the point of it is that, if you're Private Joe Snuffy sitting out there and I got a problem, who do you call out of the 30,000 organizations? So what we're trying to do is to say, okay, let's set up some sort of one-stop shop. Soldier calls in, I got a problem. There's somebody sitting on the other side that punches all this information into a computer, maybe using artificial intelligence. And that person can then say, here are these organizations we are going to provide to you to assist you in your particular issue. That's going to be expensive. And just like, Thomas Edison had an expression, you get really fond of, said, opportunity is often lost because it's stressed in coveralls, it looks like work. This is a lot of work. So getting the people to make the decisions, and of course, some of that is, who's gonna call out kind of point with that. But to tell you just some of that, of course, Association of the United States Army, my chapter has helped out with these soldiers. The VFW, AMS, American Legion, on and on and on. Suits for Heroes, I've been involved with this for a couple of years. Dell O'Neill, she's a mother of a Marine. And when her son was getting out of the Marines, she wanted to kind of, just do something to help us. So she found this organization now called Suits for Heroes. And what they do is one time a year, they set up down at a church down in Groveport, and they bring in these pretty darn nice suits, Joseph A. Banks, what have you. I literally helped put $1,500 worth of clothes on a veteran's that was currently serving service members back. For nothing, no charge, cost you the gas to get there. And she loves thousands of these students. It's a really nice program. If you ever get a chance to hear about this or do anything to support that, please do. Central Ohio Veterans Stand On, I wanted to make mention about that. That's going to be at the convention center during October. Dan Willis is the executive director for this. If you ever met Dan, this guy is he's got more energy than 5 or 6 people I know combined. And he's just terrific for trying to help, make sure veterans. They don't do things that do medical checkup, they do dental care. They put clothes on, boots, anything that they might need, that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty nice program. Moral of the story is support the veterans, absolutely. But it's not all as bad as sometimes you hear. Now, the veteran population, this is one of the more interesting parts. Look at the decline in population just in 18 years. Now, granted, a great deal of that is World War II and Korea. A lot of Vietnam as well. It used to be that about, I want to say it was about 43% of the population had been military veterans. This is going back some years. We're now to 7%. Well, in for recruiters, it's what they well know. One of the issues is if you're in a military veteran family, the inclination to serve is greater. If you're not, less so, and that's a problem now. Women veterans, this is the thing that drives me nuts. Women make up 51% of the population of this country, and the other 9% of the veterans. They're currently only about 17% of the military force. If you don't think the women should serve, I want to tell you the story. It's Rick Tova, that stands for it. Well, basically, where one command's going to take over from another command. And a friend of mine, Sergeant Major Chuck Park, he and his commander, at that time, Don Cornett, they were on this ride going out to Baghdad. And then the Mahdi militia, you may remember that, it's one of those, forget that imam that was in charge of that, but at any rate, they were battling, they were insurgents. And Chuck and Colonel Cornett were sitting in this Humvee, armored Humvee, and Mahdi militia ambushed them, and there was a 20-year-old female specialist, Clark, was up on the 50 caliber machine gun. And she's moving it out with these guys. And I know she got at least 4, because they were shooting out of the car, out of all 4 doors. She moved the car. Okay, now the interesting part was that a 50 caliber, for any of you that know anything about that, belts of ammo have to be input into the canister in a correct way. For the M240 machine gun, it doesn't matter which side it can feed it from, but the 50 caliber must be from the one side. Well, somebody put it in a can the wrong way. She's yelling down to Chuck. She says, "I need more ammo." He pops open the can, pulls it out. He didn't know that it was sitting the wrong way. I guess she cussed him out royally upside, one side and down the other. And I asked Chuck afterwards, I said, "Were you that upset yet?" He says, "No, she was right, And the second part that I want to tell you this about I read this book, it's called The Daughters of Koman. This is a female Kurdish battalion, it's part of the Syrian Defense Force. And you may remember that 5-6 years ago, whatever, the ground forces that were fighting against ISIS in Syria were Kurdish, not US. We supported them, but we were not part of the ground force. And this female battalion, ISIS hated them. Because these females were kicking their butts. I'll serve next to females a lot. I got emotions. Here's another one. It's called The Girls Come Marching Home, Stories of Women Warriors Returning from the War in Iraq. I've served with some of these, this particular group, I've served with females. There's a young lady by the name of Alice Allen. Why I call her very there. She just announced and it's open. Okay. Now, another piece that I wanted to make mention about as far as females, even those that served, you know, it's nothing for me. I mean, I got my dad over there, my bag, you know, US Army emblem, and US Army on my shirt, you know. Females don't do that. You ever notice that? How many times have you ever seen a female wearing a branch of the service hat? Debbie Ashhurst is the director of the Ohio Department of Veteran Services. She holds a women veterans forum at least once a year. Did this back in February, and all 4 of the guest speakers, none of them had any kind of writing on. Nobody knew that they were in service except maybe just their closest friends, family, kind of thing. It's sort of interesting if you think about it. You know, just we can see guys wearing stuff all the time. Okay, speaking more about the veterans, and I'll do this kind of quickly. Largest cohort is still from the Vietnam era, 6.4 million. Second largest is they never fought in the war. Of course, we're getting old. Median age is 66. You can see the various age groups. Currently serving. Now, this is 2.3 million in uniform, all branches and components. Look at the percentage of those that are serving in uniform. Winston Churchill had a thing, he was talking about Battle of Britain, when they're fighting against the Germans in the air. Said, ever is so much to know by so many to so few. The components rate, this is just on the Army side, 452,000. Here's the interesting part of that. They were planning just 3 years ago to grow it to 500,000. But they can't get the people to come in. We are on the brink, but those of us who remember from the late 70s, Hollow Army. We have units, very few that are full strength or anything close to it. National Guard, they were at 350,000, they're now 335. The Army Reserve had been at 205,000, we're now at 177. And again, all branches, 17.3% of the serving force. You have 51% of the population. So units. Perfectly fine with the women raising their right hand right alongside the guys. Recruiting. This is a big problem, you probably read about it. Past several years, the active component is missed target. Last year alone, 2022, the target was 55,000. They got just a little less than 40,000. 15,000. Anybody remember what the division's strength is? Division of soldiers? 12 to 15,000. So that 1 year alone, we're a division short. The target for 2023 is 65,000. They got about 55,000. Part of the reason that they have actually been able to increase on that is that they've got called the Future Soldier Preparatory Course going on down in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And that's for people that, guys, you know, the male, female, that are between 2 and 6% body fat over. They send them down there first. Also, for those that are academically challenged, and it's an interesting part here. We think of schools as failing our students. What they kind of fail to do, in part because of COVID stuff, is that the students got how to take the test. They get on down to Fort Jackson, and in 3 weeks' time, they raise their 12-month service vocational aptitude score. They have to get, and I apologize, Sergeant Hanley, what's the demo?
For the preparatory course, typically it's a 31, with the preparatory course, it's 21 to 39.
Okay. If you score a 31, you're in. If you score between 21 and 30, you go to the future full preparatory course. In 3 weeks' time, they're raising their scores by 17 points. It's just learning how to take a test. Sounds kind of ridiculous to me, but I mean, it's what it's working. They got between 10 and 12,000 soldiers just over the past year out of that program. So that helped a lot. United States Army Reserve. 2022 and 23 targets for 15,500, and they got about 11,000. So we're coming up way short. Okay, so let's go into some of the reasons why. Okay. Yeah. Fitness to serve. Okay, physical fitness. Obesity is certainly number one. Education, I made mention about the use of the preparatory course. Medical is some of the issue, drugs and alcohol, unfortunately, they're moral. Here's the one that throws politics. I don't like who the president is, so I don't want you serving. Ladies and gentlemen, I served under everybody since Richard Nixon, and I can't say I like any one of the presidents. I dislike most of them, but I don't serve the president. I obey the lawful orders of my commander in chief. But I serve the people of the United States. That is a lesson that is lost on all too many people. Partisanship has gotten in the way. There's another issue that has kind of come up, and that is people talk about woke, whatever that is. The Army did a study last year, published it this year in February, I think, and it bothers less than 5% of the people in target age group 17 to 34. So the people that talk about it are the media outlets and what have you, but not the people with this target audience. They don't really care. Influencers. Another thing that kind of bothers me a little bit is that some people confuse patriotism and symbolism. You don't have the flag hanging on your house, somehow you're not a patriot. It's got nothing to do with it. Patriotism is what you got in here, and what you got in here. I like that. I mean, damn sure that it stands tall and is properly displayed. But that's me. It's my business. Okay, now another problem, and I apologize for this, recession. Military video games. You're looking to Soldier of Fortune and Mortal Kombat, what are you doing? You're looking down the barrel of a gun. 1 out of 7 of the service members in the Army are in combat arms. 6 out of 7 are not. Doesn't mean that they don't grab weapons and use them, but I mean, that's the perception, is that you're constantly after them, you're shooting at people. That's not the way it is. Second part, sexual harassment, assault, rape. Earlier this year, I was at a commissioning ceremony at Capital University. Young female second lieutenant, and her mom comes up to me afterwards, and she says, "I'm scared for my daughter. She's going to get sexually assaulted." Here's an interesting statistic. A lot of people say, "Well, I don't want to go into the service, let me go to college." Guess where the number one place for sexual assault is? College. Number one, and not by a small margin. Again, perception. The Wounded Warrior commercials. Many of you support the Wounded Warrior. I do. But if you think of those commercials, get to a mom and dad seat. Every one of my, my kid goes in, they're gonna come home with a traumatic brain injury or missing a limb. Yeah, it's a perception problem. It's not the facts, not sufficient. Okay. All right. We pass on those, yeah, already did, okay, everybody got their ticket? I wanted to tell you about somebody, you may remember Jessica Lynch. The reason that I like her so much, I never met her. But during the initial stages of OIF, Operation Ranking Freedom, she was with, I think, the 5 or 7 maintenance company, and she never fired a shot. But after she was captured, there were us who were trying to make her out to be some sort of GI Jane. She said no, but she could. They tried to take advantage of that, but her integrity said otherwise. I like integrity. I like when people speak the truth because they know it. It's their value, something that's deeply inculcated in them. So what I'd like you to do, I'll go ahead and grab the numbers and check your tickets there. Get my glasses off that I can read. Last 4 is 4873. All right. This is a really good plug. It's pretty basic. Thank you.
There's no pictures in there, so you're gonna have trouble.
Actually, there is pictures.
I think we have a couple more minutes for questions.
Sir.
Yeah, do you have any insights as to what is going on in the Middle East right now and what impact that may have on the Army over the next year or so?
Right now, they're activating soldiers potentially to put over into theater. But additional, because we've already got them in Syria and Iraq. Plus a few other countries, Qatar and Kuwait and what have you. How it's going to impact us, that's kind of anybody's guess, but I'll tell you. That is that's just a bad situation, and it is not gonna go away. No matter what Israel does or doesn't do, that's gonna be an ugly place for a lot of years to come. Probably long after we're all buried. Our engagement in it, I think to this point, is probably what we had is a situation, some of our guys over in Iraq and in Syria, where they're getting ordered and what have you, or rocket attacks or drones, which you've heard about. So it's not like as if we're not, we're going in harm's way, but we're not on the front line. So politics of it, well, I don't have moves to take after that one. Sure.
What's your feeling about mandatory national service?
It's interesting. I'm gonna forget his name. First name, Major General Dennis Leach, retired. He lives over in Westerville. And he and another gentleman have been pushing for bringing back the draft for a number of years. It has its pluses, it has its minuses. I came in at the very tail end of the draft period, actually the first year afterwards, is when the volunteer army gets in place. Initially, worked out exceedingly well. What we have now, unfortunately, is a great many people that say, let somebody else serve. Well, we've kind of run out of somebody else's. I'll tell you a story too. This happened back in 2007, I think. I was brigade sergeant major, my brigade commander, and I had a couple staff officers on lunch someplace. I made my tab, stepped out to get us some fresh air. Young man comes up and he says, yeah, I was thinking about serving. Oh, okay, let's talk. Not even 30 seconds later, woman comes up to me and places her hand on my desk, tries to push me away, grabs the kid and says, you stay away from my son. He came up to me, I don't care, stay away. He gives me his all eye roll. She sort of rushed him and they were talking about my van, and as they're pulling out of the parking lot, there's a yellow ribbon magnet on the back end that says, "We support our troops." That is part of the problem. I wish I could say it otherwise. There's a great many people whose idea of patriotism is the symbols, you know, put a flag pin on the lapel or a yellow ribbon magnet on the back end of their car, and they figure they met their patriotic duty. I don't agree. My particular opinion, I'm kind of ambivalent. I don't know. I was there when the draftees were there, a lot of long hairs and doing drugs and stuff like that. And I've been there with, certainly at the beginning of the all volunteer force and pretty much ever since. And I think the quality that we're getting now is better than what we got off the draft. But the numbers may tell us otherwise. We may not have options.
Very nice, thank you. Thank you all so much for your service, those that have served before and those currently. We have a raffle, Bonnie.
You don't win, blame him.
The last four digits are 2522.
Charlie, how much is in the bucket, Bonnie?
Cool.
Nice.
Base is $263. And the last four digits are 2459.
Jim Miller. I just want to acknowledge all the volunteers today, Emily, our cashier, Charlie, our greeter, of course, Bonnie with the raffle, Jerry with our invitation and pledge, and then Ken Carey, our sergeant.
Close.
Ace of Diamonds, no go. And next we have the four-way test. All right, first of the things we think, say, and do, first.
Is it the truth?
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
Will it good will and better friendships?
And fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you. Don't forget to return your badges.